Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are located on planet Earth. It's time for another Pulse Wave report with yours truly, Dex the Algo Capitalist, aka the Vulcan, coming to you live from PulseWaveTrading.com, home of the world famous Pulse Wave price trigger reports that you can obtain at a super steep quarantine Christmas discount. PulseWaveTrading.com. Just type in the coupon code given to you on the website to save a lot of money. Hopefully you had a great weekend, because we have now woken up to a brave new world, ladies and gentlemen. Brave new world. Europe goes into full lockdown, and fears are everywhere about this so-called new super strain of the virus. Super duper strain that they claim is 70% more virulent. That is correct. That's what you wake up to this morning. At one point, the Dow futures was down 500 points. Now it's down 309 points. NASDAQ 100 is down 91 and a quarter. E-mini S&P 500 down 46 and 3/4. The Russell down 32.2 points. Bitcoin futures composite index down $60 at 22,800 after topping out at 24,210. Nat gas off a penny. We got crude oil down a whopping $2.02, trading at $47.25 per barrel after topping out this morning at $49.32 per barrel. Long bond is up 15-30 seconds at 172 and 20-30 seconds. Gold futures are now positive. They were down a few bucks. Now we're trading at $1.80 at $1,890.60 an ounce. Silver has been a wild ride. It's now up 36 cents at $26.39 an ounce. It rallied this morning to $27.63 per ounce, then plummeted to $25.12 an ounce, and then since has rallied to $26.37 per ounce. To put that into perspective, we have had a massive swing in silver this morning of over $3. Let that sink in for a minute. Yep. That's right. Think about it. You rally over $1 at the open, drop $2 and something, and then rally back another $1. So yeah, it's more like $4 swing. Yeah, crazy, isn't it? US dollar index dropped to a whopping 89.92, ladies and gentlemen, before rallying to 90.34, back above 90. So we dipped below 90, got into that red alert status in the US dollar before it recovered. In addition to that, Tesla joins the S&P 500 today. That's right. You guessed it. So it would appear that Bitcoin right now is doing exactly as I anticipated that it would do. And what that means is that we are moving to build that base between 20 and 22,000, just as I suggested. So it looks like that is exactly what is going to start playing out. We'll know more as we get to the close today, then we'll be able to really take an in-depth look at it. But that is what it's shaping up to be. Support between 20 and 22,000. That's going to be like a key support range. Market will probably base out for a minute, and then we'll get to another bear trap where it's looking like it's going to take out that support low, and then that's when the market takes off and doesn't look back until we get to about 30 to 35,000. So we'll see how much time it takes to achieve that key base, and then we'll know more. But right now, that's what it's looking like. So we'll have to really take a look and see how the market decides it wants to go. So it's a very interesting time, so to say the least. very, very interesting times. So I hope you guys had a great weekend, and I hope you had your cup of coffee and you've had a seat. Sit down, get comfortable. You know, you're going to be a while. So basically, let's see here. All right, I'm going to give you what the word on the street is. Let's see. Did you know that they're already having glitches with the vaccine rollouts? The Alaska health worker suffered a serious allergic reaction. Yeah, when you received the jab. Let's see here. Today, they're supposed to be voting on the stimulus. So let's take a look at what's inside the $900 billion stimulus bill that is stuffed with pork. Well, if the latest $900 billion viral stimulus deal now completed, which unless the Democrats win the Georgia Senate runoffs in 2 weeks, will be the final viral stimulus bill, according to Goldman. Attention turns to what is now actually in it. Well, first, the good news. The bill will include a fresh round of benefits for small businesses, as well as the usual one-time penitence for peasants, amounting to about $600 check. So here are the key components. Corporations get billions, peasants get $600. Direct payments of $600 to most Americans, $600 per adult and $600 per child. The amounts decrease for individuals with more than $75,000 in income and $150,000 for couples. $300 per week in enhanced unemployment benefits through March. Expiring programs for gig workers and the long-term unemployed also will continue. $284 billion for the Paycheck Protection Program that provides grants for givable loans to small businesses, arguably the most successful and also most abused program of the CARES Act. This represents the bulk of the $325 billion the bill puts towards small businesses. You got $82 billion for education, including $54.3 billion for K through 12 schools and $22.7 billion for colleges. Governors would get $4.05 billion to spend on education aid at their discretion. For-profit colleges would get $908 million for grants to students, and another $1.7 billion would be set aside for historically Black colleges, tribal colleges, and minority serving institutions. $10 billion for child care. $15 billion in grants for theater operators and owners of small performance venues. $25 billion in rental assistance and an extension of the moratorium on evictions. $13 billion in funds for food stamp and child nutrition benefits, $30 billion for procurement and distribution of a COVID vaccine, as well as testing for tracing, $1.8 billion in tax credits for businesses to provide paid leave. Of course, as with any fiscal stimulus that is nearly $1 trillion, there will be lots of pork and other shady components thrown into the bill. One such questionable kicker is the $15 billion in payroll assistance to airlines. That will, in theory, allow them to return more than 32,000 furloughed workers to their payrolls through March 31st, according to Reuters. In reality, since there is no enforcement clause, we wouldn't be surprised if many of the airlines continue to quietly lay off employees and use the funds to repurchase their own stocks. It happens. U.S. Airlines furloughed more than 32,000 workers in October after a 6-month, $25 billion bailout measure expired on September 30th. According to Reuters, airline workers will be paid retroactive to December the 1st, and airlines would have to resume flying some routes they stopped after the aid package expired. Congressional aides briefed on the talk said earlier. Now, while airline workers could not be furloughed through March 31st as a condition of the assistance, airline lawyers will find countless loopholes around this contingency within the next 24 months. Unfortunately, even if it is used as intended, it won't last airlines even 3 months at current cash burn rates. U.S. carriers are losing $180 million in cash daily, with passenger volumes down 65% to 70% and cancellations rising, industry lobby Airlines for America said. It should be noted here, in all fairness, the airlines have been struggling pre-COVID, so it is what it is. All right. Let's see here. The new assistance program is expected to mirror the $25 billion program approved by Congress in March, which require larger airlines to repay 30% of the payroll grants over time and offer the government warrants. It is also expected to include minimum flight requirements. The aviation assistance comes after 5 months of furious lobbying, first by aviation unions and later by airline executives, who argued the industry, which repurchased over $50 billion of its own stock in recent years, desperately needed new government help as travel demand remains devastated by the COVID-19 pandemic. The $45 billion viral transportation package is also set to include $1.75 billion for airports and $200 million for airport concessionaires and $2 billion for the private motor coach, school bus, and ferry industries. Aside from airlines, the stimulus will include $1 billion to the Amtrak Railroad, $14 billion for public transit systems, and $10 billion for state highways. It is also expected to include significant changes to how the Federal Aviation Administration certifies new airplanes following two fatal Boeing 737 MAX crashes that killed 346 people. In addition to a $15 billion airlines rescue bridge line, the draft language of the emergency coronavirus relief package includes a tax break for corporate meal expenses. President Trump has talked about securing the deduction, derisively referred to as the three martini lunch by critics, as a way to revive the restaurant industry badly battered by the pandemic. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin included the meal deduction as a White House priority in negotiations, but critics said it would do little to help struggling restaurants and will largely benefit business executives who do not urgently need help at this time. While Democrats opposed the proposal, during negotiations, Democratic leaders agreed to the provision in exchange for Republicans agreeing to expand tax credits for low-income families and the working poor in the final package. Since the 1980s, businesses have only been able to deduct 50% of their meal expenses off their federal taxes. A proposal championed by the White House and Senator Tim Scott would increase that deduction to 100%, allowing companies to deduct the full cost of a business meal off their federal taxes. The cost to taxpayers of the proposal is not known, though tax experts expect it to exceed a few $billion a year. So there you go, guys. That's what it looks like under the hood of the emergency relief money. All right, so that's your stimulus bill in a nutshell. Yep, they just find this money out of thin air. They just pull it down, don't they? It comes out of nowhere. And I expect that will continue to be the case. So now you know what it is. All right. But now let's go a little bit deeper. shall we? Let's go deeper. There's been a flurry of U.S. media claims in the past week about alleged Russian cyber attacks on government departments, and that came just as Joe Biden was officially declared president-elect. As usual, there's no evidence to back up the sensational claims. As you know, sensational claims require sensational evidence. But the objective seems to be to ensure that the incoming Biden administration maintains or adopts a more hostile policy toward Russia. Now, you know why foreign countries hate the United States, and it's because of our whack foreign policy. The timing of this is hardly coincidence. On Monday this week, the Electoral College in the United States cast its votes to confirm Biden's election to the White House. The Democrat contender had already won the popular vote by a decisive margin against incumbent Republican President Donald Trump. Almost 6 weeks of controversy since the November 3rd election day, due to Trump's tenuous claims of voter fraud, were laid to rest this week when the Electoral College confirmed Biden as president-elect. He is due to be inaugurated as the 46th occupant of the White House on January the 20th. Out of respect for the American electoral process being consummated, Russian President Vladimir Putin had waited until this week to make any comment. However, after the Electoral College executed its duties, Putin promptly telegrammed congratulations to Biden on his victory. The Russian leader expressed the hope that Russia and the United States will begin to normalize relations for the sake of global security. Ominously, the auspicious occasion was immediately marred by the U.S. media frenzy, alleging a massive cyber assault on the heart of American government and industries. Russia was predictably blamed as the offender. Once again, you guys, no one is even batting an eye. Here's America again playing the victim. Russia keeps picking on me. Russia took my election and won't give it back. I'm going to tell your mother. That's what we're dealing with. So you're saying, once again, that America is so vulnerable, America is so soft, so marshmallowy, so punkish, that not only can the elections be tampered with and hacked once, but it can be done twice. So, ad infinitum, Russia and China, according to the media, have been hacking the United States constantly, continuously for the past 2 decades. That's what we've been dealing with. Breach after security breach after security breach, hack after hack after hack. And right now, the U.S. is powerless to stop it. We're being led to believe that the U.S. can't even protect its own infrastructure. We're being led to believe that the U.S. cannot have a real election, and that every time we do, it has to be questioned and examined because Russia is constantly hacking us and picking on us and won't leave us alone and keeps taking our lunch money and keeps taking our brand new toys at recess. That's what we're being led to believe. America is so vulnerable, so weak, so frail that we keep being hacked and we're powerless to stop it. So if you believe that Russia is responsible for Trump getting in office, why are you not saying that this year that Russia also helped Biden get in office? Isn't it safe to say, since you keep accusing Russia of hacking, how do we know he didn't help Biden the same way he helped Trump? How do you know this? You were never able to hit us with overwhelming evidence that they did help Trump, but it didn't matter. So now we're saying, how do we know they didn't help you? DNC, can you prove that they didn't? Can you prove a false negative? Now it's your turn. Prove it. How can you prove that they did not help Biden get into office? You see how this goes? You see the hypocrisy, ladies and gentlemen? The Kremlin dismissed the claims as yet another anti-Russian fabrication. For the past 4 years, the U.S. media have regularly peddled sensational claims of Russian malfeasance, from alleged interference in elections to alleged assassination programs against U.S. troops in Afghanistan, among other such tall stories. Never has any verifiable evidence been presented to back up these lurid allegations. The cyber domain is a particular favorite for such anti-Russian claims, most likely because these stories are handedly told without any real evidence. All that is required is for anonymous cybersecurity agents to be quoted. The abstract and arcane cyber world also lends itself to mystery for most people. In short, it is amenable to false claims because of its elusive technical nature. Now, it is feasible that some kind of malign cyber event did indeed happen in the U.S. government departments, agencies, infrastructure, and private sector, as reported this week. Though, what is very much in doubt is the question of who actually carried it out. The U.S. media and anonymous officials are fingering Russia, but where is the proof of Russia's culpability? The FBI and the Department of Homeland Security briefed members of Congress about the cyber attacks. Senators emerged from the briefings fomenting against Russia. The second highest ranking Democrat in the Senate, Dirk Durbin, told media that it was virtually a declaration of war by Russia on the United States. What is going on here is a classic case of gaslighting, where people are being manipulated to believe in something utterly false for an ulterior agenda. Edward Snowden, the courageous whistleblower formerly at the U.S. Naval Security Agency, has revealed with copious proof how the CIA and other American intelligence agencies had the technical capability to carry out cyber assaults using digital signatures with the deliberate aim of falsely implicating other actors. That is the ability to carry out digital false flag accounts. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Digital false flag attacks are here. Why do you think I was the first person on social media to point out to you the ticker HACK, hack? When it is in a bull market and rallying, that means that a operation is underway. All right? It is what it is. Now, this week would seem to be an illustration 101 of cyber dirty tricks. What's more, the U.S. media are quoting sources who claim that the cyber assaults are ongoing and pose great risk to government departments, critical infrastructure, and the economy. Not only that, but it is being alleged that the threat is akin to an attack or, the drums of war. And that deep penetration has untold consequences that may unleash some unknown nefarious manifestations sometime in the future. So this is a perfect psychological ploy to maintain perception of permanent threat and distrust. Like I said at the beginning. All right. So you got China and Russia and Iran and Afghanistan, or whatever boogeyman they want to add in there. That is our perpetual big boss video game battle. President-elect Biden responded to the reports by saying, quote, "We need to disrupt and deter our adversaries from undertaking significant cyber attacks in the first place. We will impose substantial cost on those responsible for such malicious attacks," end quote. In the light of all this, Russia's aspirations for a reset in relations with the U.S. are thus looking dim, and that is to be regretted by all people the world over. just when the United States and Russia need to get down to serious negotiations concerning arms control, such as extending the New START treaty on strategic nuclear weapons or on reducing dangerous tensions between Russia and NATO forces. Here we have a huge setback to any possible reset in relations. And it should be abundantly clear to the American people that President-elect is a war hawk. All right? Bo Biden is a war hawk. He said during the election campaign that he would hold Putin regime accountable for its crimes. Such an intemperate and belligerent view no doubt made Biden the candidate of choice for the American deep state and its military-industrial complex. Unlike Trump, who was rather ambivalent about Russia, Biden displays the requisite tendency for aggressive policy. In other words, war hawk. It may have been hoped that Biden, who as a senator and former vice president has decades of experience in foreign affairs and diplomacy, would show a certain real politic on entering the White House, and despite his past rhetoric would get down to the necessity of establishing practical cooperative relations with Russia. But see, here's the problem. It's that he has decades of experience in foreign affairs. American foreign affairs, America's policy is the worst on the planet. And this is one of the reasons why. You got people like Biden that are responsible for it. And then you elect him to the White House. One of the bad actors that are responsible for our horrendous foreign policy, you elect that person to the White House. And you think our foreign policy is supposed to be better because of that? Just like you think that because they're throwing money at the problem is going to relieve the problem. No, it's not. You're just going to have to keep doing more and more of it. All right? All this stimulus is nothing but heroin. It's financial heroin. And what happens when you take financial heroin? You start to need more and more and more of it until you OD on it. And that's what's happening right now. America cannot function without stimulus. That should tell you just how sick the patient is. It may have been hoped that Biden, who as a senator and former vice president has decades of experience in foreign affairs and diplomacy, would show a certain real politic. No. Regrettably, it looks like Biden's hands are being tied even before he is inaugurated. The image of Russia as an evil enemy has been burnished by this week's media onslaught over hacking claims, and Biden has responded in appropriately gaslit fashion. The question to be asked is, who gains from this? Certainly not Russia. And this is what we need to contend with first thing on a Monday morning. Why is that? Why is that? Meanwhile, there's something else ominous that we're not taking a look at because you're being overwhelmed in the mainstream media with other trivial matters. But did you know there's been an astronomical rise in UFO sightings, ladies and gentlemen? Sightings of unidentified flying objects in New York City have increased 31% this year over 2019. 46 compared with 35. Compared with 2018 figures of around a dozen sightings, 2020 sightings are astronomically higher, so far jumping by more than 283%, according to the New York Post, citing data from the National UFO Reporting Center. The borough with the most UFO sightings was Brooklyn this year, coming in at 12. The second was Manhattan with 11 and Queens with 10. Yeah. Staten Island had 8 and the Bronx saw 5. New York Post said the most memorable intergalactic incidents occurred in the summer months on Staten Island and in the Bronx. The first incident occurred on June the 8th. A Bronxite said 30 objects flew in a perfect line in perfect synchronicity. They looked like a bunch of moving stars. The observer claimed, quote, "I don't drink or take any drugs whatsoever. I'm not a UFO conspiracy theorist," end quote. On July 21st, a Staten Islander spotted an oval craft that looked and sounded like a helicopter. Then the mysterious flying machine sent a surge of heat radiation through my body, end quote. The islander honestly thought it was the government putting something into the air with everything going on during these times, and I thought I would wake up and find it all over the news or on Instagram, end quote. On September the 15th, a Brooklynite looked out the bathroom window of his home and saw orange metallic orb standing still over the Jamaica Bay area. They said, "By the time I called my son, they were gone. I could not believe my eyes." Earlier in the year, a Manhattanite reported UFOs swirling around the Statue of Liberty. Even though these were first-hand accounts, there was no physical evidence such as a picture or video to back up their claims, as far as we know. And even if it was, it would just be debunked as CGI for an upcoming movie. You know how that goes. Last week, someone, let's see here, Haim Shed, former head of the Israel Defense Ministry Space Directorate, told Israel's Yediot Arnot newspaper that aliens exist and have been waiting to show themselves, but added they remain secret because humanity isn't ready for the reveal. With the world certainly a strange place in 2020, it was noted earlier this month that alien monoliths were appearing in the U.S. and in Europe. And there have been videos on YouTube showing these so-called alien monoliths just appearing out of nowhere that weren't there just the day before. Yeah, man, the world is a weird place. And this has been one of those years, man. It's been a weird year, to say the least. So the question is, where do we go from here, ladies and gentlemen? Now, I don't know if you guys who are new to the channel remember, but I gave my testimony. I saw a UFO back in the very early 90s. It was around 1990, I believe it was. It was 90 or 91. Can't remember if it was 90 or 91, but it was the summer. And it was broad daylight. It was in the late afternoon, and I saw a blue disc-shaped thing. It was glowing fluorescent light blue and was hovering over one of the houses in the neighborhood. We all came outside to look at it. What happened was I was on the phone ordering pizza for dinner, and one of my younger brothers was like, "Come here quick, you're not going to believe this, you got to see this." And all his buddies were standing in the doorway of our house. So I walked over there, and at first I was like, "Man, I'm on the phone trying to order a pizza. What y'all talking about?" They was like, "No, come here, you got to see this." So I hurried up and ran over there. And when I got to the front door, they said, "Look." And I looked, I was like, "What? I don't see anything." And I looked. They said, "Look over there." And I looked, and there it was in broad daylight, a blue disc-shaped UFO hovering over one of our neighbors' houses, right there in broad daylight. It was about the size of the house. The blue orb was like the size of the house, and it just hovered. And it was pulsating and glowing this light blue, is what I saw. And it hovered over the house for several minutes. It stood still sometime, then moved a little bit to the right, moved a little bit to the left. And then all of a sudden, it took off horizontally, just zipped and just flew away. And it was just, we were all in awe. Everyone in the neighborhood was outside, standing there just looking. We're all just looking in unbelief and disbelief, like, what in the world? And On the 6 o'clock news, they had videos of a meteor or comet thing that was seen traveling at like light speed, and I think it crashed in Pennsylvania or into the Potomac River or something. I just remember they were showing footages of this, and they were calling a rare sight of a meteor, and how thousands, like 10,000 calls came in about it, and we all started laughing when we saw it because we was like, that's not what we saw. And it sure enough wasn't no meteor, because the last time I looked, it has never been documented anywhere where a meteor or an asteroid or a comet came and entered into Earth's atmosphere, stopped short of crashing, hovered over someone's house for several minutes, pulsated fluorescent light blue, moved to the left, moved to the right a little bit while hovering, staying there several minutes, and then taking off horizontally and up in the sky and out of sight. So no meteor, asteroid, or comet can do that or has done that on record. Therefore, we know it was an unidentified flying object. I know what I saw. I know what my entire neighborhood saw, because we all were standing outside of our houses, standing in the parking lot, some standing in the doorway, looking at this phenomenon. So yes, these phenomenon do exist, have occurred, and are continuing to occur. And the situation is burgeoning and not going away. It is what it is. So yeah, I had to leave you guys with something a little bit less serious, something to think about. But once again, we have fear and panic without proof. Where's the evidence of 70% more contagious mutant virus? Where's the evidence? I have not seen one piece of evidence. But yet they're going to push it, and they're going to respond and panic, lock down the world again, and destroy what little bit of economic recovery there might have been. So technically speaking, you can say that this was a way to cancel Christmas. Is it not? You think about it. We woke up this morning with the futures being down hard and headlines everywhere talking about a viral mutation with a 70% virility. And then the total lockdown of Europe. So you're going to hear about 1 million variant viruses, because viruses mutate by nature. It's a law of nature. It's scary, but it happens. But people's response to it is where the problem is. You can't blame COVID for anything. You can't blame a virus for anything. You can't blame a bacteria or a fungus for anything. The blame goes to human beings' response to it. That's where the problem lies. It's the response. The virus didn't do anything to you. Your response is what's hemming you up. But people like to play on words and use technology on the people because they assume that the people are stupid and that the people won't be able to figure it out. And you'll just do what you're told and accept whatever you're told. Anyway, hopefully you guys will wake up and see the light. With that being said, remember, PulseWaveTrading.com. Bulls make money, bears make money, and pigs get slaughtered. So remember to take what you can and give nothing back. And I'm out. Peace.